All right, click the links to join the channel here over at Subscribestar. I have a mailbox if you want to mail me some cool comics or something. Um, so what doesn't trigger the idiots at the Mary Sue? So the everything's an istophobic dog whistle. It's like, that goes two ways, don't you? It's like it's also you guys being istophobic against us, and they'll look you straight in the eye and go, no, that's not real. Only our views are real. That in itself is dehumanizing and degrading an entire group of people. The white pill is, I will say, people, especially with the new Twitter, the Elon Musk, people are awakening in all kinds of just fascinating ways because now they're free to talk about some of their concerns. So Baldur's Gate whitewashing mods trigger the woke SJW cat ladies and the soy boys. Why come nobody ever just says, hey, yeah, all this diverse, inclusive stuff, yeah, it's not for us. We're not into it. We don't want to see all that kind of crap. We think it's just Bolshevik cancer, just Frankfurt School propaganda from the Saul Alinsky types. We're just not into it. If you're into it, hey, great, knock yourself out. You can, but diversity to them just means like all Wakanda. You look at them and you're like, that's not diverse. Where's the Asians, the Middle Easterners, the various European tribes? Oh, that's not what we meant when we say diversity. We just mean their diversity just means not you. Like, I guess we should go off and do our own thing. No, don't go off and do your own thing. We have to control everything you do. It's like, yeah, I think those days are coming to an end of the political commissars. People are getting remarkably based on Twitter. Anyway, so like sorry about that. If I guess I could turn that off. Sorry, apparently I'm missing out on the Midnight in Exile live stream. The thing is, if people want to mod the games to make them look like whatever they want to make them look like, it doesn't hurt these soy boys and cat ladies in any way. These mod geeks, they just want to be free to left alone to mod the games, and if these SCWs want to mod the games in whatever way. Oh, let me click on this. It's really funny. It's an old article, but this chick is, I think it's a chick, is just losing her freaking mind over the idea that people would dare to want to see themselves represented in games. It's like everything has to be their way, and you can't just go your own way without their influence. It's like this doesn't hurt them in any way. Like these people want to mod the games, they want to make it look like they want to make it look like. And everyone should be able to do that. Like if you want to make the game go vice versa, go from black to white or white to black, it's like, all right, hey, knock yourself out. It doesn't hurt. We don't care, but they care that we're not subject to their political propaganda. That's a weird thing about the left is they feel like they make these movies and these narratives, and if you don't go see it, you don't support it, or you laugh at it, they get so triggered. It's actually a big deal. It's one of the things that diversity in comics, why they got so incandescently outraged over him, because he was mocking them, their woke talking points in the comics. He was mocking the comics, but the comics are a reflection of this Bolshevik propaganda underneath the surface. That's why they got into a killing rage. In the case of some of them, some of the BLT people were making threats against him and his family. And you only get that kind of emotional response when you're challenging their worldview by mocking comics, and that was what was happened, because they know the comics are propaganda. Otherwise, they wouldn't have got so outraged over it. And it's the same thing with the YouTube channels that talk about like the Phantom Menace type of channels. They make fun of the movies, and those big channels, the Ryan Cannells or the Nerdrotic or the movie vlog type of channels, they get these kids on Twitter so outraged because they know the movies are propaganda, and the best thing you can do to propaganda is call it out, lampoon it, and belittle it, because it takes the energy out of it, and point out the areas that are propaganda. That's why they like there's people on Twitter who spend hours talking about other people, like Yellow Flash talking about movies. There's these Twitter kids who focus on that, and you look at them and you're like, you're not talking about the movie directly. You're talking about you're like two steps removed from it. It's freaking bizarre. And they never talk about how good the movies are, or the comics are, because they're not. I mean, fundamentally. Anyway, so what happened was apparently some base chads are modding the some of the characters into improvements. I think into people of the light. And you know, if you're going to go the other way, it's like they would think it's an improvement also. But the globalist useful idiots are triggered because mostly they're just a bunch of anti-white idiots. Oh, and some well, anyway, so you got characters in a game, and they come in. Someone in the comments yesterday said something like be better, my guy, and I couldn't tell if they were one of our guys trolling me or not. Anyway, so you got these characters in a game, and they come in various colors, hair and eye color, whatever, all these things that you could, you know, very easily change out. So some of these the guys swapped them out, the dark for light, and gave them blue eyes, and then uploaded it, and then you can download these new improved characters for your games. I guess that's a PC thing, which you wouldn't think would be a problem, right? Why would that? Why? How does that affect you in any way? You should be able to download any color character, any mod you want. It just shouldn't be like it's your game, it's your environment. Why would anyone have a problem with that? Everyone, you know, especially now after all the stuff that's been going on, people are getting much more tribal, even if it's in you know, real life and in games. People are starting to really get these in-group preferences. It's kind of an interesting, exciting time to live in. But for some reason, these bullshit activists just lose their freaking minds, as this Zimzer is on this thing, that you don't want to see Pox characters in your Lord of the Rings based video game or story or whatever. Why exactly do they feel that they have the right to control every aspect of your life? I mean, these people, like, they can't even control their own life. They would kill a houseplant. The fair-skinned, blonde-haired, blue-eyed characters are more beautiful to the people who belong to that tribe, the wonderful people of the light. They want to see them reflected in a game, just like these people would want to see themselves reflected in a game. It's just beyond arrogance for these SJW game writers to tell you things that you have to enjoy. I don't appreciate them at all. What are we to do if the non-fair characters trigger us and we feel more comfortable in a safe video game space with people who look like our tribe? We want to be diverse and inclusive to our tribe. Is that allowed? It's like, oh no, Hugo Boss says what? It's like, I'm just repeating the same SGW talking points back to them, but they don't see us as equal to them, so we're not allowed to have preferences. So they prefer colored characters, and these mods obviously prefer ones based on the European characters. And the thing is, all these games are based on European mythology. A lot of it's just kind of ripped off from Lord of the Rings. It doesn't make sense in the first place to have non-European people in it. I mean, that's the concept of verisimilitude and the willing suspension of disbelief. If they want to go make some African game and someone came along and swapped out Shaka Zulu for a blonde haired, blue eyed character, would the SJWs respect diversity in that case? I suspect not. So the funny thing is, the absolutely hysterical thing is, if you've been following Twitter and the right wing kind of normie-con guys are they're perceiving this shift to the right, so they're trying to get on board with it, the Charlie Kirk types, and trying to manipulate it and control it a little bit, but they have to get on board with it first. So that's what they're trying to do now. If you can follow some of their stuff, is that all this anti-white racism that the media has been pushing has created something that's kind of interesting to behold, is that the people of the light are starting to see themselves as a tribe because they're getting attacked as a tribe. And it's interesting to see who on social media panics and is trying to manipulate people away from that. It's like, no, if you're being attacked as a tribe, yes, you should see yourselves as a tribe and, you know, advocate to advance your own interests, and you can start to identify as that tribe to do things for your group as a group, even if it's just something as simple as uniting to boycott some woke companies like Anheuser-Busch or whatever. It's the meme of, you guys aren't welcome here, so then they go off and start doing their own things, and now both groups, the original group that didn't want them, now this new group, it's like, now, okay, well, they don't want outsiders either because they're off, feel comfortable doing their own thing because they weren't welcome in this original larger group. It's like, what did you expect, for people just to accept being victims forever? Why would we? We're awesome. We were never the problem. I keep saying that. I don't know if that's too much for YouTube, but you know, it's whatever happens. So these a lot of these soy boys and cat ladies are throwing stones from glass houses. Anyway, so I've got to skip over a lot of stuff. The bigger concept is the right to be free of this globalist propaganda. It's this weird hatred the left has for freedom of association. They absolutely have to have political commissars in every section of every cultural movement, every group. And when you're forming a group that doesn't have those political commissars, they either try to destroy it or they look for a way to get into it. That's why some of these various groups trigger, like Comicsgate was something that very, I mean, something just as mild as Comicsgate is something that still triggers them over 7 years later. And there's still kids on Twitter who are just losing their mind over, like, you'll never be in the mainstream industry. It's like, I don't think these people care anymore. This is not like 20 years ago. Being in the mainstream industry, you realize, like, they were never going to be in the mainstream industry anyway. It's such a hostile environment now at post 2016. But for some reason, they feel that they're the only ones with the right to be free to pick whom they associate with, and it's not us. It's like, well, why on earth would these video game players want to be around them or even be reminded of that in the games? What gives them the right to tell us what we can do to these games? Don't they also mod the games to make the skin, the hair, the eyes darker so they can see themselves in the games? They themselves don't want to see outsiders, but that obviously works both ways. And you tell them this, and suddenly they just lose their mind in anger. It's like the Scott Adams thing where he was saying white lives matter, and then some people were saying, oh no, they don't. It's like, oh well, then I mean, why would they want to be, or why would he was saying why would those people want to be together? Why should they be together if the one group doesn't think the other group matters? It's like that's just a normal thing you would say. It's a reasonable thing to say, and they lost their minds over that. And most of us are looking at that situation development. We're like, yeah, we don't see the problem here. Like, the problem's not with Scott Adams. The problem's with the other people who say that, whatever white lives don't matter. It's like, of course they do. Like, the problem's on you. It's not on Scott Adams or us. Anyway, I don't know if this is too much for YouTube. I just can't tell anymore. These are diversity and inclusion. It seems like, so they're talking about Tolkien being Istophobic, and you go, well, listen, if all this stuff is going to be such a problem, we don't want to continue to kowtow to you people because you're just moving the goalposts. It's better just to have separate spaces, separate cultural spaces. There's no need to mix in this kind of stuff. And you go, you're saying segregation? That's what the left has been saying for the past 10 plus years, to the point of they literally have their own like ceremonies and rooms for each other and clubs for each other. It's like, well, of course, the right wing, the people of light are also going to do that also. Why would you expect them not to start getting tribal? I mean, what else are they to do? It's like these groups are having their own graduation stuff and their own cultural associations on campuses and stuff, and they exclude outsiders. It's like, well, then the other people are going to do that. Oh, I got to be careful of the hot words on YouTube. That's why I say the people of light and stuff. But, like, of course, they're going to do the same thing. It's like, how are they going to feel when they're excluded? It's like, you don't want to be around them. So eventually they're going to come to the conclusion, like, oh, we just need to do our own things. It's like, even if it's something as simple as modding a video game, it's like, yeah, that's fine. It's like anything that avoids conflict is fine. Like, people just accept all this stuff of, like, diversity, inclusion, and globalism. It's like putting people together and realize, yeah, that just causes a lot of conflict. Or at least if you want to be together with people, fine. But it's also like both people have to be, parties have to be willing to this, that freedom of association concept. Clearly there's some groups that don't want to be associated with each other, they don't want to be around in each other's spaces. Like, that shouldn't be a problem. It's like, fine, go in peace, go start your own thing. It's like, it doesn't have to be a hostile situation like it is with I mean, like, the left tells you how they feel. They tell you who they are. And you have to believe them when they tell you how hateful they are. And they just think the right wing is just going to be like okay with moving the goalposts forever. It's like at some point you come to the realization, like, oh, clearly they don't want to have a meeting of the minds. They just want absolute control. It's like at that point you go, oh, that's why we need to separate from these people, at least in these cultural spaces and, in other occasions also. I don't know if this is too much for YouTube. I have no idea anymore. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. You can support my vitally important work. Not YouTube, obviously, the stuff I'm doing on the other channels. On Subscribestar or the various other links. Want to send me some comics? Please do, or cool pocket knives or whatever, or cool flashlights. I get the coolest stuffs. Also, the silver coins. Thank you very much. They're based silver coins. Thank you very much for that. You can use the mailbox for that. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys all next episode.